How do you deal with a narcissist? In this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and tools on how to do that. When you discover this world, you start to understand or understand your relationship could possibly have been with a narcissist, an emotional abuser, a toxic person, somebody who's higher up with narcissistic traits. And you might believe that because you've realised this, that you would get closure. But sadly, just because you have connected the dots and you've made this discovery, it does not offer instant healing. The bonds that they create run really deep into your soul. Hello and welcome to the Divorce Sanctuary. I'm your host, Elizabeth. On this channel, I talk about emotional abuse. I'm the founder of the Divorce Sanctuary and Wound Talking, and I've been a woundologist for over 20 years, working on past life wounds, clearing ancestral trauma, and working with this life wounding. I wrote my first book, Finding Lily, sat on a beach in Greece as my marriage was crumbling around me. My second book, The A to Z of Emotional Abuse, followed as I had discovered this new language, the words and phrases that I had no idea at the time existed, and began to realise they were my reality. And my third book, Divorce Matters, has been written to support you through the divorce process. It's such an important part of your healing, and you can get the closure you need and heal the emotional wounds, as well as dealing with your divorce matters. They are equally as important, and in the book you're given permission to ask the questions that you've been told not to ask. Get all the information that you need for the divorce process and dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and begin to create the life you deserve to live. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back and thank you. How do you deal with a narcissist or an emotionally abusive person, a toxic person, or someone higher up on that narcissistic spectrum? If you were dealing with something toxic, you'd probably wear gloves and a hazmat suit. If you aren't able to walk away once you've left the relationship, it might be that you have children or you need to divorce. And this can raise wounds and triggers. It can be painful watching this person that you were in a relationship with create a new character. You might not recognise them anymore. You might be wondering what happened to them. The version you were left with was mean and cruel. And here, standing before you, is a nicer and happier person. They appear to be healed. They are the person that you wanted them to be. It's an act. If we rewind all the way back to the young child that they once were, you'll find they abandoned themselves during a traumatic event in their lives. And it might be that they did it to protect themselves. They never found their way back. They decided it was safer not to be themselves. They don't know who they are, so they create personas to fit a situation. For a non-entity with no personality, they are very clever. They are perhaps maybe like an AI. They learn a task, and if it goes well, they store that information. It might be a joke. It might be something that gets them attention or a laugh or acknowledgement. They are generous to others. When something doesn't work, they make a note not to do something again. And like an actor who immerses themselves in a role, so does the emotional abuser, the narcissist. And this is why you don't recognise them, because they're now playing a new character. They're learning their lines. They're learning new lines. They've got a new script. They're performing to a new audience. It's essential to understand that narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, can have profound and lasting effects on you. Often people experience emotional trauma, anxiety, depression, a diminished sense of self-worth. And you might think the road to healing is going to be challenging, and possibly it might be, but it isn't impossible. And the techniques that I use with wound talking mean that you don't re-experience what you've been through. You still have a role to play, and you can get dragged back into that drama. They need a host to live from who can feed them and provide them with a warm and safe environment. When you realise this, you can start to take steps not to react to them, because the reaction is what they're looking for. And it has many functions. They're able to get supply from you. It shows them that they still have power over you. It shows them they're still able to control you and your emotions. And to the new host that they're living from and the people that they have in their life, they're able to say, look, I told you that she was crazy. I told you how difficult she was to live with. This is what he put me through. You might be familiar with this. As I'm sure you possibly heard of the long line of crazy exes. So the first part is really understanding what happened. It doesn't matter what you said, what you did, what you didn't say, what you didn't do. You were always going to be in this place. There's a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, or gondii, which can make mice lose their fear of cats permanently. And it does this because to complete its life cycle, it needs to reproduce in a cat's gut. The parasite uses the mouse as a vehicle to get into the cat's gut. It loses its fear as the parasite changes the brain chemistry. To think of it, the emotional abuser or the narcissist, that person higher up on the narcissistic scale, is the parasite, and perhaps using you to move on to their next host, tricking you into handing over your life to them. We need to break the cycle. Never ever try and use the techniques that the narcissist has used on you against them. You will get hurt. This is like being on a roller coaster. You might say, yep, I'm ready, and then be overcome with emotions, wondering if they miss you. Are they hurting? What are they doing? Did they really mean it? How could they do this to you? Why are they so happy? How can they move on so quickly? And the biggest one, did they really love me? Was this all a lie? And the reason that you've been left with these questions and have these emotions and feelings is that they consume your life. They created bonds that were so strong, and you're missing them so much that you can't move on. As they took you round the cycle of abuse, as they danced you round, they took you to discard. But each time they took you there, they whisked you back at some point to idealization. And now you're stuck with the final discard, in suspension, unable to move on. You are hoping for closure. This is something that you might not get. You have to create this yourself. You have to break these bonds, this cycle. And you were told you were the only person that ever understood them. And here you are, struggling to understand how easy it is for them to walk away. You want to know if they are in as much pain as you are. They should be, shouldn't they? So how do you deal with a narcissist or emotional abuser? Heal yourself. During the relationship, you experienced abuse that only now you'll start to discover and understand how deep this runs. People who've never experienced this type of abuse will never understand what you have been through. It's a very particular type of hurt which penetrates every layer of your being. There's a pain that emanates deep from your soul, courses through your veins, leaving you feeling that your heart has been frozen and your trust in any human has been destroyed. Do not engage with your abuser. Disappear like a wounded animal. Run away and lick your wounds. Do not put a time limit on your healing. Allow yourself time to understand what happened, to understand what happened. Put a limit on that. Otherwise, you may go down a rabbit hole that you never come out of, which makes you not only hurt, but also lost. Once you take the step to heal, also commit to looking further than this relationship and understand why part of you allowed this to happen. The second thing you can do is don't react. Going no contact will help you. You might remember the peace that you experienced initially when the relationship first ended. Going no contact will bring that peace. If you aren't able to go no contact, then use grey rock. Any communication you receive, step back, don't react. If you can ask someone to read your emails, letters, text messages, or any other form of communication, please do that. When you are still in the state of hyperalert, it's so easy to see things that aren't there. It's easy to be drawn into situations through fear. And fear is a huge emotion, and so many other emotions stem from that. This fear may come from the relationship and not understanding how you will cope or live without them. They put themselves in a place of power and control, and they possibly told you how lucky you were to have them in your life. You might find yourself fighting emotions and wounds. They might have attacked you personally about things that you did or how you behaved. It might have been your appearance. They may have used techniques like triangulation, comparing you to other people in their life. And when this happens and these wounds come up, you can use a technique called stop, drop, roll. It was one that I was taught on a first aid course, but I've tweaked it to help you with your wounding. If you were on fire, you would be told to stop where you are, to drop on the floor and to roll, either in something or on the floor to smother the flames. And you can use this technique to protect yourself. Stop if you receive a message from them or any form of communication. Do not press the reply button. Close the message and tell yourself that you will respond later. Then drop into the emotion. Feel where it is in your body. Roll. So rather than smothering the emotions, acknowledge them and where they're coming from. And this will help with your recovery. Roll the emotion around inside you, or it might bring up a memory, and find out where that comes from. And once you feel your response is not going to be through an emotion or a wound, then you can respond. Another technique you can use is mind the gap. So these are very fragile and insecure people, and they use others to fill their gap, fill their hole. And they're like vampires or parasites. They suck the life force out of other people, topping up on their missing parts. They steal everything. They don't know who they are. So they wear a mask, pretending to be someone else, pretending to be the person they believed that you were looking for, pretending to be the person that their new supply is looking for. They blame shift. It wasn't them. And they project their incomplete and missing parts on you, saying you are the problem. Stop and ask yourself, is this true? This is such a powerful technique. And for me, it broke something, a belief that I held about myself, that I was told, and I carried that for 6 years. Disengage from them. Find ways to disengage from their power games. During your relationship, you may have heard them speak about other relationships, and they were always the victim and gave them the attention that they were looking for. All they need is attention, and they don't care if it's good or bad. Refuse to play. This is a game, and the bigger and the higher and the deeper that your boundaries were, it increased the challenge for them. The challenge was to see how far that they could push you before you fell, to see how far you would go to protect the relationship, and what and who you would give up for them to prove how much you loved them. This game has interchangeable rules. And if they believe that you have understood them, they will change them. And even after the relationship is over, they still want to play. They still want to engage with you just to prove how much power they still have over you. And number 7 is listen to your body. Learn what you need. You very possibly are experiencing some trauma that's in your body and a lot of fear. So you were told you couldn't live without them, or what an amazing person that they were, and how lucky you were to have them in your life. So from the moment they held your hand as you stepped up onto the pedestal, they were playing a game. This is your time. Understand what techniques work best for your healing, whether it's meditation, deep breathing, visualization, reducing the emotional triggers and stress. If the information is too overwhelming, 3 things you can start with. Grounding. Your mind was poisoned like the mouse. And like that mouse, you do not feel the fear that you should. The study of the parasite called Toxoplasma gondii revealed that once removed from the mouse, the chemical imbalance wasn't found in the brain. However, the behavior was still present at 4 months. Grounding is an amazing gift that you can give yourself. You can start your day with it, creating a habit. Plant your feet on the floor when you get out of bed and sit there for a moment, seeing roots coming out and going down into the earth. Another one is breathing. Again, this will help you balance your emotions and take control back of your life. Box breathing is perfect. And I'll put a link in the description of one of the videos I've done on it. The third thing you can do is write out your story. For those moments where you believe this is all your fault and you're watching them live their best life, they look like they're so much better off without you, so much better off being out of the relationship, and you believe this must be you. You can then look back and you can see their bad behavior. It might help to write out their timeline, the history of their relationships, and the trail of their crazy exes. You are an amazing person, and that's why you were targeted. You had something that they needed, one of their missing pieces. Rather than heal themselves, they steal from others. And they did the same with you. You now need to protect yourself, heal your wounds, and protect your energy. There is a gift in this, And that gift that they've given you is showing you all the wounds that needed healing. And this is something that they will never be able to do. As I said, I'll put all the links in the description box below. If you'd like to come and join me in the Rise and Thrive Tribe, which is a monthly, really low cost membership, you can do. There's no contract. You can join and leave as it suits you. And as always, I'm sending you loads and loads of love until next time.